You're listening to the UM3D Podcast, where we explore fresh ideas and real-world experiences that shape how we teach and learn. Recorded in the podcast studio at McWhirter Library, we bring you conversations with educators and experts to help you design, develop, and deliver high-quality instruction. Today, Trish sits down with Professor Kim Marks of the Department of Journalism and Strategic Media at the University of Memphis. From VHS tapes to generative AI, her department consistently stays ahead of the curve. In this episode, Professor Marks shares how her department navigates the challenges and possibilities of AI. Whether you are skeptical, curious, or already experimenting with AI tools, this conversation will inspire you to consider how generative AI could play a meaningful role in your own courses.
Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Trish Lange. Today, I'm pleased to welcome Professor Kim Marks, Associate Chair for Undergraduate Studies, and also the Associate Professor of Practice in the Department of Journalism and Strategic Media here at the University of Memphis. So, Kim, I've been working with you a lot over the past few years, and one thing that I find most fascinating about your department is that it's the very oldest distance learning program at the U of M. You guys started back in the VHS tape days, right?
We did, yes. We started our master's program online in 1994, and then we started our undergraduate online, I think, in 99 or 2000.
Wow. We've come a long way, and every step of the way, you guys have been on the cutting edge of all the technology.
We have. We pride ourselves on that.
Possibly is the biggest jump in technology happening right now with generative AI?
Probably, honestly. Because we've been through several iterations of different kinds of video conferencing, from the blue jeans back in the day, which was very painful, through Zoom, now Teams. So that technology has been sort of the same, but it's gotten a little bit better and more user-friendly and easier for people to hear and to see each other on.
Like the delivery.
Yeah, the delivery mechanisms has changed, but not drastically. But now, especially since, we're all about journalism, advertising, public relations, creative mass media, and social media in our department, generative AI is definitely probably, since the internet, is the biggest thing for our industries.
Wow. Okay, right. Internet. Boom. Generative AI. Boom. These are all so huge.
Yeah, they're big. These are things that are changing the way the industry is doing business, which therefore is changing the way we are teaching our students to enter the field.
Right. So not only are we having to think about how you're training up the students, you're having to train up your faculty.
Yes, which is sometimes harder than training the students because, sometimes you don't want to learn something new. But we're working on it. We're getting there.
And I don't think I can think of another technology that has threatened our faculty as much as generative AI.
Yeah, I wasn't a professor back when the internet came around, but I would say that probably generative AI is having more of a gut reaction than even the internet did.
Right. I know when we switched from Desire to Learn for the LMS to Canvas, we were all, everybody across the board was pretty crabby. But really at its heart, it was just software.
It was.
But you can't call generative AI just software.
No, it's not just software.
Right.
So, and I think the other thing for our faculty in our department, at least, is faculty in our department are worried not only about how it's affecting them in higher education and how it's affecting students, but they're really concerned about how it's affecting the industries that we all care so much about and the job potential for our students who are graduating. There's a lot of fear, and there's been a lot of kind of fear-mongering around AI is going to take your job. So we're also trying to, waylay those fears and put that to rest.
Are you hearing those fears mostly from your students, or do you think the faculty is also really worried about that?
I think the faculty are a little bit worried, but mostly the students. But I keep telling my students, AI isn't going to take your job. Someone who knows how to use AI better than you might take your job.
Ooh, that's huge. So how are you guys thinking about leveraging AI in teaching your students?
So for a lot of us, there are appropriate places to insert AI into the curriculum in our department. we teach basic news writing, and all of our students across all of our majors take basic writing classes. And when they're just learning how to write and they're just learning how to put together a news story, that's probably not an appropriate place to throw generative AI in there, because we want them to learn how to think critically and to understand how to write a news story. So we're really being very intentional about where in the curriculum we insert it, making sure that we're building those core skills first. We're working on the critical thinking that's needed to understand how to do an interview, how to check facts, how to write an inverted pyramid, all those things. And then later on in the curriculum, when we're getting the 3,000, 4,000 level classes, and especially a lot of the practical classes, especially in public relations, is where we're starting to insert showing students more about AI, letting them know this is how it's going to be used in the industry, but also talking about it continuously, even at those lower levels, making sure they understand that this is not a class you can use AI in, or this is a class you can use AI in, and here's how. So it's a lot of intentionality. And honestly, it changes. I think every semester we have to have that conversation, because the tools are changing so rapidly and new functionality is coming online. So I think every semester we sit down as a faculty and we go, okay, what are the students using now? And how do we have to either counter it or understand it and then know when to use it and when not to?
When talking especially to your lower level division students and telling them this is not an appropriate place for you to use AI, do you find it is enough just to have a conversation about it, or do you use more threatening methodologies, such as if you use it, you will be punished?
A little column A, a little column B. We talk about it a lot. I know in my classes, I'm always talking about AI. And when I'm talking about an assignment, sometimes I'll even jokingly be like, so I know that AI could probably do this for you, but we're not going to do that. We're going to learn how to do it ourselves, and then we're going to see how AI comes into it later. All of us have syllabi statements that talk about whether it is or is not appropriate, and all of our syllabi statements say, basically, if you're not supposed to use AI and we catch you using AI, you're at risk of getting an F, fail a 0 on the assignment, and it could have repercussions. The problem is, and I don't care what anybody tells you, there is not an AI checker or an AI identifier that's good at identifying things written by AI.
I'm glad you say that, because that is a truth that people do not like. And it actually goes back to the truth that people don't like about academic integrity in general, which is you can put in as many policies as you want. I cannot press a magic button and say this technology right here will prevent any academic problems from ever happening. Yeah,
no, you can't. And because the AI tools themselves are evolving so fast, even if you get a checker that's sort of good at it, within a month or two, they've released an upgrade or an update or a new thing, and that checker now is not as good at it. So, I've had faculty tell me, oh, no, I use this AI checker, and it's, they're using AI. And I'm like, that AI checker may or may not know if they're using AI.
Oh, honey.
I know. Oh, honey.
Oh, honey, no.
So that's the problem. So, a lot of it, I think that we need to, so I'm not an academic by trade. I did 30 years in the military and then came into academia. My philosophy has always been that I treat my students as adults, because they are. And I expect them, and I tell them my expectations. And I feel like I get good results 9 times out of 10 by treating them as adults and telling them what I expect and having conversations with them. I find that seems to work better for me than threatening them. And they also all know that no AI checker is going to be able to check it. I've also found students that when I suspect they've used AI and I've just called them out on it, a lot of times they'll fold. Like, yeah, I did. I used it. To me, the way to identify students using AI in writing is hopefully it's a student. We have a pretty small, it's not a small department. We have small class sizes. And I have students that I have, periodically throughout the 4 years that they're here, the 4 years they're here. So I try to get to know my students. And so by the end of a semester, by mid-semester, I've kind of got a feel from talking to them and reading their writing, like what their style is, what kind of words they like to use, how they put sentences together, like their level of grammar. And so, when suddenly this piece of writing comes across my desk that's got these $6 words in it and this very complicated grammatical structure, I ask them because I'm like, this isn't the way you normally write or talk. Did you use AI for this?
Right.
and once I always tell them like I'm saying this not because a checker told me, but because I understand how you usually work, and this is out of your normal. I found that has been my best tool for catching people using AI or for starting that conversation with them about how it's not the right thing to do.
I know some departments are using AI to improve their students' writing. Like, use this AI, it's going to show you where your grammatical issues are, and then you can use that to start improving your writing. Do you guys use that at all in your department, and does that actually work?
I think it does. And I mean, honestly, when AI first, when generative AI first came out several years ago and everybody was, clutching their pearls about it, I was like, how many of your students use Grammarly? And they were like, well, all of them. I'm like, it's AI. Shocker. I think it does. I have a lot of my students in the upper level writing classes. I have them write some things that we don't use AI for at all, but then I have them a lot of times take so they'll write a press release, and then I'll grade the press release and give them feedback. And then I'll have them have the AI, I'll have them, create a beautiful prompt and have the AI write a press release based on the parameters. And then they look at what the AI did and what their press release did and what their feedback was. And then I make them critically think through it. What's different? What's better? What's worse? If this was a press release your AI did, how would you use this? Or what would be appropriate? What do you have to do before you can use it? To fact check it and, all that kind of stuff. And I found that it has helped students, especially when they see what the AI puts out the first time versus what maybe they wrote, especially if maybe they wrote something they didn't put like 100% into. Right. It was something they just kind of, it's due at midnight at 11:50, they decided to write it. So yeah, and it has been eye-opening for them too to see sometimes when they have done that, to see that the AI generated one is pretty doggone good.
Yeah.
And then they get worried. They're like, oh, I really need to put some work into this because I'm going to get a job at an agency and the agencies are using this AI tool. So maybe I need to focus on my studies a little more.
Why does that agency need me versus just a good AI tool? Yeah. Okay, so these are all great examples of how you, Kim Marks, person who is experienced and not afraid of generative AI, how do you help other faculty members in your department become unafraid of generative AI or less afraid?
Less afraid, yes.
Less afraid so that they too can start incorporating these types of assignments in their courses.
Well, I did the department put me through a program it's an organization called AI for Education, and they started out focusing on K through 12, and now they focus heavily on higher ed. So they do K through 12 all the way up through grad school. And they have some really great resources online that are free, and they do classes. And they have a class that they rolled out last year, and I was in the second cohort, and it was a Train the Trainer class. And it was designed to help teach me how to teach other faculty how to effectively use AI and maybe not be so afraid of it if they were, or understand how it could help them as a faculty member. So not even the students, but how can I as a faculty member use AI to make my life easier? And it was, I think it was a 6-week class. I don't know. It was online and in real time. And the end result was each of us had to put together a training session that we then presented to our cohort and got feedback on to then go forth into our universities and give training. So I am putting together a proposal for CCFA, the College of Communication and Fine Arts, starting in the fall, where I'm going to do a series of trainings with the faculty there, and then we're going to see if we can grow it some. I'm looking at maybe doing a 4 or 5 part series, starting at the very basics. I want to keep it an hour long, so the training we did was, a lot of the training they do is all day. And I said, I can't do all day with the faculty, but I can do brown bags for an hour at a time. So I'm trying to, break it down into 5 1-hour sessions over maybe the whole semester. And I'm trying to design it so that if you can't make it to the first one and you come to the second one, you won't be lost, but also they'll build on each other.
Have you considered building a Canvas course for this?
I have, actually. That was my next thing. So I want to try and do the dry run with it and get some feedback, see how it's going, maybe what it's missing, what people, because I'm trying to anticipate what my faculty what their worries are. And thinking about CCFA, I've got to think about disciplines across theater and art and film and architecture and all the other things we have, music. So I want to do a dry run and get feedback and see if I'm hitting all the points that people care about. And then I would like to turn it into a Canvas course that's just available and maybe make it available campus-wide for anybody who wants to run through it.
Oh, that would be brilliant. That would be brilliant. You're going to start with the basics. Do you consider like defining AI literacy one of the basics, or are we actually like post-define AI literacy at this point?
I like to think we're post-define AI literacy at this point, but I also think that it's important to define it when you're doing a training so that we're all coming at it from the same lens. So if I think AI literacy is one thing, that it's the same thing that everybody else thinks.
So how are you defining AI literacy?
So I define AI literacy as knowing what the AI tool can do, when to use it, and then how to use it ethically and responsibly. And that's either in a classroom setting or in a work setting.
And is AI literacy the same for faculty as it is for students?
I think it is.
I think it is.
I think it is. I mean, it's you all need to know, what can it do? And there's so many things it can do depending on the tool. I think you need to know when it's appropriate to use it, whatever that tool may be, whether you're a student or faculty, and then understanding if you're going to use it, how do you use it ethically and responsibly?
Yeah. And I think as faculty, a lot of us want to put way more guardrails on our students' use of it.
I think so too. And I think, I'm, like I said, I'm not, I didn't come up in academia. But I understand, I think that's, when you're thinking about academic integrity, you think about cheating, you think about all the things that go on in a university. I think it's kind of natural that they want to put those guardrails up. I think the important thing is to realize that there aren't really guardrails that will hold. And the guardrails are very fluid with AI, all the way from not having tools that really can tell you if something is AI generated or not, to just the rapid advances in the tools. I mean, I think I use ChatGPT almost every day, and I think in the last week I've had to click like 3 different updates. And I'm not sure what those updates have done because I don't really care, but when something is updating that quickly and new tools are coming out, monthly, guardrails are hard.
It's absolutely shocking how quickly these updates come and how and they don't update a little bit. They update enormous. I think 3 months ago you could ask ChatGPT to create a graphic for you that had words on it, and the words would look like hieroglyphics.
Oh yeah.
And now they are correct.
And the big thing with and I had a faculty member tell me, ChatGPT is stupid because ChatGPT can't tell me how many R's are in strawberry, and that used to be kind of a thing you did to demonstrate the limitations of ChatGPT. Well, guess what? ChatGPT can tell you how many R's are in strawberry now. That's several updates ago.
Yeah.
And so then the thing was, we'll have it create a graphic with text, and the text would come out like hieroglyphics, and that's gone now too. Now it creates you a beautiful looking thing with words on it. Yeah. Every time we think we've found a way to catch it, they update it.
All right. What is your advice for faculty who are interested in creating generative AI assignments or centric assignments?
I think the most important thing is for faculty or anyone actually to use the tools. I think you need to play with the tools. I hate saying that, play with it, but you need to play with it. Almost every generative AI tool out there has a free version of some sort. It may limit you in how often you can use it or how many queries you can make, but all of them have some sort of free level. So, it's not like you have to invest your own money into learning how to use it. But I think you can't create assignments to use a tool until you know what the tool can do. And you figure out how it could be appropriate for whatever the subject is you're teaching. If I'm teaching a journalism class, ChatGPT seems like it would be a no-brainer, but there are other, there's Notebook LLM and there's, all these other ones out there now. So I think understanding the variety of them and then knowing what they do is key before you can decide how to create an assignment that's going to test students or teach students how to use it. And that's been one of the hardest things is, we all are so busy. I mean, if you're a tenure track faculty, you're trying to do research and everything else. If you're not tenure track, then you're teaching a very, maybe a 4-4 or 5-5 class load. So it's like, when do we have time to play with it? So I think getting faculty to understand that they can use it to help their jobs be more efficient in some ways. If you're using it to make your job more efficient, hopefully it will free up a little more time for you. But also, then you're using the tool and you get a feel for what it can and can't do.
Right. And as a faculty, using generative AI to make yourself more efficient is not building assignments with generative AI. It's making your day-to-day tasks more efficient. So that's a different use altogether of generative AI, which is beyond the scope of this conversation. But
yes.
Yeah, we're using Gen AI. We're talking for education, but in our day-to-day lives, we're using AI to speed the process up of all those dinky little tasks that have to get done.
Yeah. And when you sit down and think about it, you're already using AI in so many ways that you don't even realize. I mean, just like the Grammarly thing, people were like, oh, yeah, that's AI. Do you use Siri? Do you use Alexa? Do you use your GPS? All those things are, based in some way on AI. So I think getting people to realize that it's not some new big scary thing. It's always been here. It's just now it has this new capability that people have to get used to. And it's not going to go anywhere.
I can't think of a better way of ending this conversation. It is not going anywhere. We're all going to get more comfortable using it. We're not going to get used to it, but we have to get more comfortable using it and see where it takes us. Because it's one big, long learning journey. We're all in it together.
It is. I mean, I always like to say that part of being academia is that I'm a lifelong learner. So I'll just keep learning.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Kim Marks, so much for chatting to us today. In our show notes, we'll have links to so many of the items that you mentioned.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to this episode of the UM3D Podcast. Today, we explored how Professor Kim Marks and the Department of Journalism and Strategic Media at the University of Memphis are embracing generative AI, both in the classroom and through faculty training. From building student awareness around ethical AI use to designing assignments that balance creativity with integrity, Kim shared thoughtful strategies for adapting to this fast-moving technology. One key takeaway: it's not about fearing AI, it's about understanding what it can do, when to use it, and how to use it responsibly. If you're looking for resources mentioned in today's episode, including examples of the AI syllabus statements that the Department of Journalism and Strategic Media use, be sure to check out the show notes. You'll find links and tools to help you take the next step in your own Gen AI journey. We'll be back soon with more conversations to help you design, develop, and deliver high-quality instruction.